Hello everyone, my name is Connor Curran, and today on the Courage Chronicles, we're going to be talking about advice for a successful start with our guest, Ammar Memon. Let's get into it. Hi there, my name is Connor Curran. I'm one of the co-owners of Local Laundry. We are Canada's most caring clothing company. Today, I'm here to talk to you about the Courage Chronicles, a show where I'm gonna be interviewing other people from Calgary and learn about their expertise and how they build community. So come follow me as we learn about their area of expertise and how they build community. All right, I really appreciate your time here today, Ammar, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to get your thoughts and advice on aspiring entrepreneurs or people that want to start a business out there. Give them, to your best knowledge, any tips, advice on how they can become connoisseurs in their own fields.
Yeah, that's a good question. I much prefer getting advice than giving it.
Why is that?
I think it's this conservative nature probably around, being that type of person. I think giving advice to somebody and hoping they perceive it the same way you meant it is something that I'm a little bit cautious of. But
interesting. I find most entrepreneurs it's the opposite. We love hearing our own voice, and we'll tell anyone who will listen.
No, don't get me wrong.
It's a good thing.
I definitely do it. Even yesterday, I had a young entrepreneur in training really coming in and asking for stuff. So I like doing it for sure. And in my experience, what I'd say is leveraging my accounting background and personality. I would say it's all about risk. And risk is not a bad thing in my mind. Risk is something that can yield great results as long as you know your appetite, how to manage it, how to mitigate it, and how to apply it at the right time. So that would be the first piece, is every venture takes risk. You just have to figure out what you're comfortable with, what you can afford, and then take that risk. So essentially taking that leap, but being measured. I'd probably prescribe more to the school of being calculated in it, more so than just letting it, fly by the seat of your pants, would be the main thing. Yeah.
How do you mitigate risk?
Well, for the company's perspective, it's, that's my bread and butter, being an accountant. So we evaluate the financial strength and position of companies to make sure that they are a going concern, they have decent or strong balance sheets, and they're going to be able to pay their bills at the end of the day. So we have a credit review process that we built into the app to essentially generate scores. Based on that risk profile, we will actually establish pricing. So that's where the return comes in, is the riskier you are, the higher the cost of capital you're going to face or your vendors will face, versus your large corp that's de-risked. Then your vendors can really take advantage of a really good pricing around that aspect of it as well.
Very cool. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That's a good question. Specifically focusing on quickly, I think the best piece of advice that I've been given so far is to focus on the fundamentals. This was actually from a larger company that is a pseudo competitor. I met with the CEO and he said, focus on the fundamentals, which is the credit risk aspect of it. But I think this can apply across industries. So focus on the fundamentals of your business and don't get distracted by the side quests. Essentially, we've seen a lot of big names, over the last couple of years go down, or they're no longer in existence, or they're retrenching, getting rid of thousands of staff. And I think a lot of that comes down to not focusing on the fundamentals and just growth for the sake of growth and trying to get hype out there instead of saying, hey, is this a viable business? Can I be around next year? So yeah, I would say focus on the fundamentals and forget about the hype train. You can do the hype train when it's time to raise funds, but aside from that, build a solid business.
Yeah. On that note of hype train, I find a lot of young entrepreneurs get mixed up in the hustle and grind, culture, and everyone wants to jump on the hype train. What is the worst piece of advice that you've ever been given? Or what is a piece of advice that young entrepreneurs should avoid?
I think this comes from probably hearing it from the venture world, where they talk about having conviction in what you're doing.
Okay.
And I think until recently, there was probably a discourse around almost blind conviction. Like you're so bought into what you're doing, you can start to drink your own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And I would say that early on, you have to be cautious with that, because you could be chasing down a really bad idea, or just something that's not going to be sustainable and not going to be a good business. So I think, just be careful and don't drink your own Kool-Aid too much. You have to do some, because that's the only way you keep yourself going when you're getting beat down. But if you go too far into it, if your business is great, it'll work out. But if it's not, then I think you're going to suffer some bad consequences.
I think that's great advice. I haven't quite heard it put that way. I think that's fantastic. Are you a big reader? Do you read a lot of business books?
So I'm publicly admitting this now. I do a bit of hacking and I use Blinkist or short form.
Awesome.
So, because I meet a lot of people and they're like, hey, you should read that book because it's going to help you with this problem you're facing. So I love to just over 20 minutes get the gist of it, and then if I like it, I'll dig in a bit more or grab the book.
Totally.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of nonfiction reading over the last little while.
If you could recommend one book, what would you recommend? Entrepreneurs starting out.
Yeah, so it's actually by the folks behind 37 Signals, and the book is called Rework. It particularly resonates with our stage of the company right now, and I would highly recommend it. It's titled Unconventional Advice, and that's what they do. So, they talk about not emulating a large corporation when you're small and a few other things. But yeah, I really liked it. It resonated with our business, and I would highly recommend it right now.
Wonderful. Fantastic. What is the biggest piece of advice you give to someone who's wanting to start? They haven't started, 0 to 1, but they need a little bit of courage. What's the best piece of advice you can give them?
Yeah. The one thing I would say is experiment in a cheap and efficient manner to determine if you have a market. That would be the number one thing, is landing page MVP, or if you have a physical product, do it in the cheapest manner possible on the side in your evenings, what have you, but do it cheap, experiment to see if you have a market.
Well, where can people find all the info about Quickly?
Yeah, you can find us on our website, helloquickly.com.
Awesome. Ammar, thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Connor.
Thanks so much for watching the Courage Chronicles. If you want to find out more information, click that big old link down below, or check out YYC Calgary Business, or you can even check out our clothing company, localhonorary.ca. Thanks so much. Hope you have a great day. Bye for now.